I've mentioned in previous videos that my scambaiting attempts are not always successful. In fact, a very small proportion of the total, maybe 5 or 10%, actually makes it into a video. So while we're waiting for the next complete story, let's take a look at a few that didn't work. Jones Williams, the plural, contacted me to say, "We wish to inform you that a power of attorney was forwarded to our office this morning by two gentlemen regarding your unclaimed fund of $8.5 million. One of them is an American citizen, named Mr. Robert Porter. The other is Mr. Wilhelm Berg, a Swedish citizen. The document claims these gentlemen to be your authorized representatives, and the power of attorney states that you are already deceased. It further states that your death was due to coronavirus pandemic, with your date of death being November 27th, 2020. They have now submitted a new account to replace the receiving account that was in the original claim of funds. These funds have remained unclaimed for quite some time, and the need for resolution is pressing. In the event that you are in fact still alive, we ask that you confirm your existence by responding to this email. Our request is based entirely on our attempt to verify that you are in fact deceased before money is wrongly disbursed. Finally, we forewarn you that if we do not hear back from you shortly, we will have to assume that you are in fact deceased, and the Federal Reserve Bank will proceed with releasing the funds to the above newly submitted account." Because, of course, that's exactly what a real bank would try to do to ascertain if their client was deceased. Email them to ask. Of course. I replied, "No, I am no longer alive. Thank you for your inquiry." Now you'd think that might be the end of the matter, but Jones William, now the singular, replied, "I received your mail with the good content therein. Please, we are very happy to confirm that you are still alive, and Almighty God will keep you alive to inherit your payment from the bank. Now that we confirm that you're alive, please be very kind to send us your details. You know, the kind of details you should never share with a stranger on the internet. To enable us to put a stop to Robert Porter and Mr. Wilhelm Berg from claiming that you sent them. I will need to forward the details to the Federal Reserve Bank for immediate attention to avoid making payment to them." I said, "I think you must have misread my reply." And I suppose Jones must have gone back and read it, because that was the end of the conversation. Willis Musa, supposedly from Western Union, contacted me with a pretty standard-sounding scam, a large sum of money that they were just itching to send to me. One interesting detail in this one, though, is the provision of a money transfer control number. The number was invalid, but I have seen them like this before with a valid MTCN, but insufficient details to collect it. When you track these, Western Union doesn't state the amount, so I imagine scammers sometimes probably transfer some small amount of money to themselves in order to create something that looks plausible. But apparently not this time. I replied, "Okay, I do have a concern about your corners, though." The scammer said, "What do you mean? Let me know when you're going to send this fee." I clarified, "What I mean is I don't like the way of your corners. Why do you have them arranged like this? Many other people go out or into and find a way not to do so extremely. Why don't you try that?" They replied, "My friend, go and send this fee, okay?" I said, "I can do that. Once the issues with the corners and numbering are resolved, I don't understand why you made the edges like the way they went. Please understand as soon as possible." They just replied, "Which day will you be able to send this fee? Am waiting." And I'm seeing more and more scammers that just do this. No real conversation, no interesting discussion, no arguments, just repeated, terse demands for the money. I said, "You'll need to flush the margins first at their point of ingress, unless you can confirm visually that this is already done. Many people try to go out, and it just goes up instead. Please tell me you haven't done that." But there was no reply after this point. So I thought I'd try the corners thing with a few other scammers. Rose Dennis wanted to send me $3.7 million, whatever those are. I replied, "Okay, but I don't like the way your corners are set. Please ensure the leading edge goes into the middle before the reinforcing materials are applied inward. If this is acceptable, get back to me immediately." The scammer replied, asking for only $100. I replied, "Okay, but this does not address my concerns about the edge corner issue." No reply. Mr. Joseph Labelle, or maybe Richard de Châtelet, wrote an email where every single word was initially capitalized. Might have been converted to readability from all caps by a machine. Anyway, this scammer had $10.5 million for me, but only if I was the rightful owner of this email address. I said, "I am the rightful owner of this mailbox, and this message did indeed receive into my spam or junk folder, depends on my web host. However, I have a problem with your corners. Why are they like this?" No reply. Gareth and Catherine Bull wrote, "My wife and I won the Euro Millions lottery of £41 million British pounds. We have decided to donate £1.5 million British pounds to 10 individuals worldwide as our own charity project. And of course, as is often the case, there's a grain of truth. The names of these lottery winners are real, but of course this email is not really from them." I said, "It sounds interesting, but to tell you the honest truth, I don't like the corners you're using. Many people go for a whole time with only 1 or 3 edges and without intersecting very well. Have you considered trying that? It's easier when you don't know how." But again, no reply. Bear Edward Smith wrote about the release of my fund to my bank account. I said, "This sounds interesting. However, I have a concern about the corners. Can you confirm if you tried without them?" Another supposed Western Union representative wrote about my total winning prize of 2.5 million USD. I wrote back, "Okay, but as I said, I have some questions." They said, "Okay, go ahead." I explained, "My main question may seem like one that's not especially pertinent, but it is important to me, so please be patient and explain fully. I need to know, why are the corners like the way that they are when they go into the edges? Most other people don't need to do the way that it goes until they have enough, and then suddenly they do again. Have you tried this? I think it could work for you, and it's more difficult when you know exactly how, so be careful about that too." The general governing body of international monetary funds, IMF, or perhaps just Office File, wrote about my compensation fund of 2.5 million something coronavirus hurricane, and they decided the solution was to give away huge sums of money to random people on the internet. Sounds legit? I said, "Hi, okay, but I have a question." They replied, "Ask your question, why delaying?" I said, "Patience, please. I merely wish to ask about the arrangement of the internal corners. I don't know why you did it with them, but if you're quick, people may not notice anything's changed. Have you changed it recently? When it goes into and out of, it makes me feel like I want to rotate in place. But this whole corners thing wasn't really working. I decided maybe to try that thing where I generate a mailing list of all of the scammers who've contacted me and then reply all to them. So here we go. To all of the scammers I've been so far in touch with, I wrote, 'Why did you stop responding? This is an important matter which we must resolve, if only because it's faster to work within the limits.' One of the Western Union scammers replied, but only to demand the fee, saying, 'You need to try your best to raise this. That is what holds you to receive the payment, so try to send this fee today.' I replied to the whole list, 'Well, that's interesting, but I will not be able to proceed until the outer edge is folded in towards the centre.' Bear Edward Smith wrote, 'The below email is not from my office. Please disregard. And also, again, I advise you to stop dealings with this group. They are imposters. I will send message to you tomorrow on the actual release of your payment and the process to release your fund to you.' I replied to all, 'Understood, and I may comply. However, please note I am also awaiting a response regarding the corners. It's been several days now, and although most people can see that far, it's not always easy regarding the weather. I hope you will get back to me at least 1 or 2 days in the past.' Smith asked, 'Before I respond fully to you, I will like to know what you mean by the corners. Please explain so that I can respond to you accordingly.' I said, 'How is it that you can be confused about what corners are? Most people would probably just ask someone next door or upstairs if they're confident about walking there to see past the edge. I suggest you do something different.' Usually this reply-all approach generates a bit of noisy discussion, but this time it was too quiet. So I also asked, 'Is there going to be a beginning to this? It cannot be consumed raw.' The Western Union scammer, something of a one-trick pony, replied, 'My friend, I ask you to send your information where to send this payment, and once again I told you before that you will pay the fee, which is only $77. I replied, 'As previously discussed, there are matters to be resolved first and last, including corners and inside edge trimmings. Why can't you do this difficult thing?' A new scammer arrived, Dr. Williams Wu, about my fund, which is $30.5 million, so it must be real. I replied to Dr. Williams Wu and the rest of the list, 'Well, okay, but I have a question regarding the corners. Why must you make them move in different ways?' The Office File scammer replied, 'Please be informed to purchase the $50 Google Play card or Steam wallet to enable proceed for your package delivery.' I replied back to all of the scammers, 'Okay, but is there a way to resolve the outstanding amount of questions regarding the thing I asked about? I am concerned that nobody seems to desire to give me a straight or curved answer on the important matter of the corner.' Bear Edward Smith replied to this, saying, 'Please, I am not in any way cutting corners. I am doing my official duty the way it should be done. All I need from you right now is to send your personal and banking details. You know, the kind of details you should never share with a stranger on the internet. To enable me process and transfer your fund to you. I also need you to send your identification card and utility bill as proof of address.' I wrote back, 'I was not talking about the underneath of cutting corners. However, now that you mention it, I think that could be the solution. Or at least a step in a different direction upwards from the centre.' All I need to know from you is whether you will be able to cut all of the corners. Will there be any residue, and if so, where will it be posted? Another new scammer, John C. William, asking if I'd received my fund of $6.8 million. I said to the whole list, I have not received it, so it's both a surprise and a disappointment to hear from you. John C. Williams sent an obvious template reply, but this gave me another chance to pester the whole list, saying, yes, I thought it was something like that, or else something completely different. I do need you to cut off the corners and place them inside the edges, though. This has been agreed as the best way forward, and also to the side. The same scammer said, in fact, following the acquisition of your fund transfer, we need to speed up the transaction process to make sure that you receive your fund latest before next Friday. So I need you to let me know when you will be sending this fee. I replied, by all means, we can trim the corners at any speed with which you are comfortable. Please confirm when you haven't done it. I will wait for the edge to turn over and look under the rim for the majority view. And I don't know quite what it was, but something simply didn't gel with this whole scambaiting session this time. So I decided to drop it and think of something else. And that will be coming soon, or, well, as soon as it's ready. Thanks for watching, stay safe from scams, and I hope to see you again soon.
Tell me anything about